Voyages 4, Hart. Who's counted smile of hours and days? Suppose I know a spectrum of the sea and pledge, vastly now parting gulf on gulf of wings, whose circles bridge I know from palms to the severe, chilled albatross's white immutability, no stream of greater love advancing now, than singing this mortality alone, through clay aflow immortally to you. Okay, so I interpret who's counted smile of hours and days. That basically an adverb clause that doesn't contribute much meaning to the whole stanza.
Well, I have to contend that. I think this is it's referencing time. That counted smile of hours and days. It's almost a Cheshire Cat image. I think it is time. And I think this first opening verse deals with the conquering of time, the bridging of time to the eternal, the mutable to the immutable.
Well, hold on. I'm not willing to sign on to that yet.
You mean the time part?
Say the last sentence again. That you said the last sentence.
Right. Basically, it's dealing with love and how it connects or transcends or bridges the mutable and the immutable, the realm of time and the realm of eternity.
You're getting all of that from just who's counted smile of hours and days?
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's reinforced. If you look down here, singing...
Well, let's wait till we get...
That's fine.
No, go ahead.
So, for example, we're dealing... So, if you look at with palms to the severe chilled albatross's white immutability, I take palms... Because there's this Caribbean setting for these poems. I take palms to be the trees themselves.
Yeah, but I still don't see how that relates to that adverb clause.
Because time is something to be transcended or bridged to the eternal. Hence, from palms to the albatross's white immutability. You'll see here that they want to transcend their own mortality by expressing love immortally via the poem, via the wedding vow, that kind of thing. Well, I am just inclined to say, I would very much say that time is what is being referenced in those opening lines.
All right, well, let's continue. Okay, suppose I know a spectrum of the sea and pledge. As spectrum of the sea,
yes.
That's another adverb clause that I don't think has much meaning.
Well, the sea is seen as always a symbol of the mutable and the changing. The spectrum includes all possible change.
No, hold on. I'm not willing to agree that the sea is a symbol of mutability.
Why not?
Because I haven't seen it elsewhere. And
because we also references right here the chilled albatross's white immutability, something above, sailing above the mutable.
Oh, you think it's because the albatross is... Does the albatross always fly above the sea?
I think it's
Is it an ocean bird?
It's an ocean bird. It's an oceanic bird. Yes.
Okay.
So again, I think that this right now is dealing. I think we can think of this poem overall as almost like a marriage vow.
But hold on. But I'm just worried about a spectrum of the sea. So would it be I know because of the would you interpret as meaning because?
No. As references to what entity? As references whose?
As references whose?
Right. Whose, quote unquote, is the spectrum of the sea. And I say spectrum of the sea refers to all possibilities of change, of transformation, of even chaos, if you want. And then a time, of course, is what permits change, mutability, etc.
Well, let's
time is indicated by whose counted smile of hours and days is a time reference, a temporal reference, if you will. So I'm still thinking that love is what transcends time and bridges the here and the now to the eternal.
All right, let's continue. Okay. So, I know and pledge, vastly now parting gulf on gulf of wings, whose circles bridge. Oh, he says, I didn't see this. He says, I know twice here. Okay, so I pledge and again, I'm going to skip over vastly now parting gulf on golfer wings. I really can't see much meaning in that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll come back to that.
Yeah. Okay, so it becomes more clear with the second I know. So I pledge and I know from palms, and we've already established that palms refers to the tree palms, not the palms on the hand.
Mm-hmm.
So from palms on the tree to the severe chilled albatross's white immutability. And we've agreed that from means as consequence. Like, I know X from Y.
No, I think it just indicates a range. From palms to the... No. So we're talking with this bridging. You start the bridge at the palms, from palms, and bridge it to the white albatross.
Hold on a second.
Sure.
Okay, so, all right. I used to have from palms to the severe chilled albatross's white immutability as interpreted as because I have touched the albatross's eternal purity, but we're getting rid of that interpretation.
Right. I think the right interpretation, you have to look at the word bridge, which precedes the parenthetical. The bridge is established from palms, starts with the palms, or the realm of the mutable, to the white albatross, the realm of the eternal. So from is the starting point, and the albatross is the end point.
So I know beginning from X until Y. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
I know beginning with palms up until the albatross. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm simply... Look, palms and albatross are symbols. Okay? Derived from the Caribbean setting of the palm.
Yeah.
Palms are simply the changeable, the mutable, subject to change, to death, etc. The albatross is that symbol of eternity. And the albatross is...
But I still can't relate it to... I still can't paraphrase it into something intelligible. So I know... It's certainly not... I know that palms...
Mm-hmm. No.
So how do you paraphrase this?
Okay. The bridge starts... the bridge joins the palms and the albatross.
So you're saying...
The mutable and the mutable.
Are you saying, I know that the bridge...
It's a connective description.
But are you saying, I know that the bridge connects the palms to the albatross?
Yes, that would be my interpretation, yes. And that bridge is mirrored in no stream of greater love.
So the paraphrase would be, I know that the circles bridge from the palms to the albatross, that there is no stream of greater love advancing now than me singing.
No. The stream of greater love, I don't think, is a consequence of knowing about the circles in the bridge.
No, I'm not saying it is a consequence.
Okay.
Oh, wait, actually...
I'm simply saying it's an analogy.
No, but he's saying, I know that there is no stream of greater love than me singing. That we've already agreed on that, haven't we?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. But the parallel is the bridging of the mutable and the immutable.
But how do hold on.
Okay.
How do I get that other part into the paraphrase? So I know there is no stream of greater love advancing now, and then these other words, I can't put it in a...
Okay, let's do it this way. Let's take out the parenthetical. I know there's no stream of greater love advancing from me to you. Okay? That is a parallel to that which bridges the mutable.
But I don't get that this is a parallel to. I don't get that part.
Okay, look. The circles bridge from palms to the severe albatross's white immutability, right?
Hold on. No, you're speaking too slow. Slow it down. Okay. Go ahead.
Let's keep in mind the primary metaphor here, which I think is bridge. Okay? What is it that bridges the here and the now to the eternal? What connects us to the eternal, if you will, to heaven, to paradise, whatever you want to call it? He is saying that his love is what... he's saying his love is like that bridge, if you will.
No, I don't...
What do you think? What's your interpretation?
Now, I'm clueless. I can't really get this.
Look, this is a poem about love, the power of love, and the power of his recording this love.
We agree on that. Yes. I agree with you there, but I don't agree on these words, how they're supposed to be rearranged into something intelligible.
I don't think I wouldn't worry about rearranging them. I would not worry about rearranging them at all.
But sometimes, if we can establish an intelligible paraphrase, we should. But when we can't, we should just admit we don't know this part.
Well,
but if you're saying that you understand what these words mean, you should be able to paraphrase it.
I have been paraphrasing it, though.
But I don't understand.
You're asking me to put this to rearrange the language.
But I can't understand what you're saying.
Okay. Can we agree that this is almost, not exactly, almost like a wedding vow? It's talking about
we agree on that.
Love between him and the beloved.
Yeah.
This is about the strength of that love. Okay?
Yeah.
Hence, he has as the parallel metaphor.
That part I don't get. Hence, he has I don't understand parallel metaphor.
Okay, the metaphor right here, from palms to the severe chilled albatross wedding mutability, that is a stand-in for their love. That is a representation of how strong their love is.
No, I don't. That's what I don't agree with. So why don't we just table that for the moment?
All right, let's go to verse 2.
Okay, let me press the pause button. Okay, so let's move on to. So I know that there is no stream of greater love. We agree on that.
Mm-hmm.
Than me singing with, how did we interpret it? Singing, which proceeds from our mortality through my clay, which is my flesh, and this poem will become immortal.
It's combining the idea of the poem and the wedding vow. These things are immortal in the eyes of God.
Yeah. All right. So now let's move down to next stanza. So, all fragrance irrefragably and claim, madly meeting logically in this hour, and region that is ours to wreathe again, portending eyes and lips and making told the chancel port and portion of our June. Okay, this is a sentence fragment, and we have all fragrance and claim, irrefragably means undeniably here. So all fragrance and claim undeniably, while meeting logically in this hour and region, which is space and time, which we're going to honor again with flowers because we're getting married. And this will portend that our eyes and lips will be, that's a symbol for our consummation of our love. And it will, making told is, it will inform the chancel port, and we have the chancel port as a synecdoche for the clergy. And I just remembered that the clergy marries people. So we're going to inform the clergy of our portion of our June, which we interpret as our passion, because it's in summer. And it's a sentence fragment. It just trails off.
Initially, I was looking at fragrance strictly as passion, but it may have a little more literal meaning. The flowers at the altar, the fragrance of the incense, that kind of thing. So I think it's there too. Now, initially, I also thought it seemed like a double meaning. The marriage symbol, and also just the poem itself, where passion and the claim of love come together, organized in a poem on the page, that kind of thing. But I think the marriage take is a little more concrete, a little more stable.
Okay. So, all right. Shall they not stem and close in our own steps, bright staves of flowers and quills today, as I must first be lost in fatal tides to tell? Okay, a strange question here. So we have they as referring to the clergy.
That is my assumption, yes.
Yeah. And let me skip over stem for the moment, but close in our steps, we have that as the clergy is going to limit our freedom.
But, and if I may say stem, not stem and close, stem can also, I think can also mean like cut off, like clipping a stem, if you will.
STEM.
Which would follow with what they're saying here. So the clergy, society, the church wants to mandate everything. STEM, close and control. Bright staves of flowers and quills. So both, they do this. So like, the words they use in the ceremonies, for instance. Staves of flowers and quills, I think, refers to the general ceremony.
But is it instrumental here? They're going to stem with bright staves of flowers. Or they're...
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
or is...
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, bright staves and flowers and quills, those are the expressions of love that are going to be stemmed by the clergy.
Okay, so it's an object of the verb stem.
Yes, that's correct. Now, this is interesting. As you know, we talked about in the preceding voyages, suicide as an expression of love. And this poem culminates in suicide. Would you agree?
Well, I gotta... Hold on a second. So yes, it does culminate in suicide.
Mm-hmm.
But let's reread to make sure we have...
just start with the signature.
But hold on, I'm still not... Okay, I still want to discuss as I must first be lost in fatal tides to tell. So I interpret as here as because. Is this the as of because?
Let's see, shall they not stem?
The clergy is going to close in their steps because... Oh, it's a question now. I forgot it's a question.
Well, this is interesting. Shall they not stem and close in our own steps? Maybe they're denying legitimacy to the love because they're committing suicide, which is a sin. So, so flowers and quilts, expressions of love, the poetry, etc., by virtue of the fact that this is going to be a mutual suicide, will their love be denied legitimacy by the church?
So now you're interpreting close in our steps as condemning their suicide?
Condemning their suicide and denying legitimacy to their love, yes.
Yeah, that makes more sense because they're doing this because so we interpret as I must first be lost in fatal tides to tell. Because I'm going to be lost at sea, I'm going to commit suicide in the sea.
Yeah.
They're going to condemn.
Or just any form of suicide, basically, would have that condemnation.
All right. Okay, now, for the next part, let me read down to here. In signature of the incarnate word, the harbor shoulders to resign in mingling, mutual blood transpiring as foreknown, and widening noon within your breast forgathering, all bright insinuations that my years have caught, for islands where must lead inviolably blue latitudes and levels of your eyes. So I have in signature of the incarnate word as it has been written in the gospel.
I would say instead it is a signature to what is transpired as foreknown. This was premeditated. Okay? That's my interpretation. They already know it was the foreknown and widening moon. It was like a release, if you will. It was premeditated, and the mingling mutual blood thing just says suicide to me time and again. Transpiring is foreknown, so something anticipated.
Hold on.
Yeah, sure.
The harbor shoulders to resign in mingling mutual blood. So I have that as one might think that the shoulders refers to the buildings around the harbor, since shoulders are usually square-like, but I think it refers to water. The shoulders refers to water. And he already did that once when we talked about Voyages 2. He used the word shoulders to refer to the waves.
You may very well be right.
Yeah.
And then resign. This is interesting. Creation cries out against suicide, but they're powerless to stop it. Hence, the resignation, the mingling of mutual blood, the act of suicide itself. Yeah,
so the harbor has resigned itself to the fact that I'm going to commit suicide.
Right.
By mingling our...
The mingling of mutual blood simply means the suicide between the two.
Yes. Yeah. Now...
And it's interesting, transpiring as foreknown. It's almost like it was destined, if you will.
Yeah, it's going to happen as it had already been known before.
And this makes suicide a very wonderful act. The widening noon within your breast for gathering all the bright insinuations made as you've caught. This is the ultimate consummation of good life, I think.
Well, I first interpreted this as, I would think noon is associated with day, which is associated with life, yet here he seems to be getting ready to kill himself, so clearly something is wrong.
Okay, so this is what they want. This is the greatest consummation of their romance. Hence, this is the height of day, of light, of warmth, of clarity, the act of suicide.
So he's just giving suicide a positive connotation here.
Right, and it's an inevitable convergence. She is the widening noon, and he, the bright insinuations that all my eyes have caught. He's been anticipating this as well.
Okay, so you have all bright insinuations. I have insinuations as just...
suggestions.
Knowledge. Suggestions.
Yeah,
all right.
knowledge I take as suggestions. So he has been anticipating this for a very long time, perhaps before he even knew her.
Yeah, so collecting all the wisdom I have accumulated over the years. So...
I think it means that she is the one he has been waiting for his life, and the suicide is the consummation he's been waiting for all his life.
That my years have caught. Yeah, so all of the wisdom I have collected over the years.
Yeah. I wouldn't say wisdom collected over the years. I think this is just anticipations of what is to come.
Oh, wait a second.
Because the bright insinuations are of the widening noon in her breast. So he's been anticipating, he's been guessing, he's been...
so, hold on, you don't interpret it as having accumulated all of the knowledge necessary...
No, I do not translate it that way. I translate it simply as... we're dealing with an inevitability here, like destiny. He has had intimations, he's had suggestions, glimpses of what is to come. And ultimately, those glimpses pertain to that widening noon within her breast, which is only consummated with the suicide.
But can you put it in fewer words?
Sure. Well, you look, we see incarnate word. We say transpiring as foreknown. Okay. This is basically their love and their suicide.
No, you're not being concise.
Okay.
Hold on a second.
Sure.
Okay, so how about in signature of the incarnate word, the harbor resigns itself to the signature of the embodied belief. We'll interpret incarnate word as the embodied belief.
Well, I think incarnate word is simply the embodied love, the act of suicide. I have to insist on that.
Well, if I say, hold on, he believes that he's going to commit suicide.
Yes.
So the harbor is resigning itself to my signature of my embodied belief that I'm going to commit suicide.
Right. It's not the natural, the world is not going to fight it anymore.
Well, specifically the harbor.
Yes, but the harbor in general could be... Yeah, you're right, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so now I think we got something. Let me write this down. Okay, so the paraphrase we have now is, the water of the harbor resigns itself to the finalization of my embodied belief to commit suicide, happening as planned. And now the final part, I have, having accumulated all of the suggestions regarding our voyage to the islands.
If I may, I would not say accumulations. I wouldn't say accumulation.
But he says gathering right here.
Yeah, but it's the widening noon within her breast that's gathering them. He's not gathering them.
Oh, wait a second. All widening.
So I think that the insinuations, these glimpses you've had of destiny, of love, of what the future holds...
No, hold on. I still don't understand what you said. Widening noon within your breast for gathering. So you think that gathering modifies what?
The subject is the widening noon in the breast. The object are the bright insinuations. In other words, all these things are now finally making sense.
But hold on. Okay. So you believe gathering modifies what subject? The breast?
The widening noon within your breast.
So the widening noon gathers bright gathers bright insinuations, which we interpret as suggestions.
Okay, so he has you know that phrase, I've been looking for you all my life. We were meant to be together.
Mm-hmm.
So he has this notion, the ideas of what this love, this commitment is going to be. And they only come together and are realized in her, like the widening moon within her breast.
So how would you... Hold on a second.
Mm-hmm.
Pause it. Okay, so we have now... And widening noon within your breast for gathering all bright insinuations that my years have caught, as the enlightenment within you gathers all of the intelligent suggestions that I have learned. But now we're debating, so I've learned these suggestions. Is it for going to the islands? What happens in these islands? These islands lead to, I interpret blue latitudes as the latitudes on the Earth, like the Tropic of Cancer.
But that implies that the islands are literal as well, which I don't think sticks.
You don't think these islands are literal?
No, I don't. No. Again, this is some world beyond, so to speak. We deal with the idea of bridging the here and their hereafter earlier in the poem. So their love is going to lead to these realms beyond what they've experienced before. For islands, where must lead? I guess this could be rearranged. For blue latitudes and levels of your eyes lead to these islands. The islands are some manner of paradise, some place of ultimate fulfillment.
Yeah, I do kind of like islands as a symbol for paradise.
Mm-hmm.
But let's just read the final two lines.
Yes.
In this expectant, still exclaim, receive the secret ore and petals of all love. So I just have receive love's ability to transport and resurrect. In this expectingness, well,
in the expectation of going to these islands, the oar, of course, is another metaphor. Traversing a sea with an oar, for instance.
Yeah, love's ability to transport.
And petals, it almost seems like it's a narcotic almost. Like ecstasy almost, petals of our love.
But I don't see where I got resurrect. Oh, petals. Petals are an object capable of death and resurrection.
Mm-hmm.
So petals of all love.
I think petals basically just refers to passion, to be frank.
Okay. All right, but let's go back to Four Islands, where must lead. So what was your paraphrase again?
Because the blue latitudes and levels of your eyes must lead invariably to these islands.
To paradise.
Yeah.
To paradise.
And then so the oar, of course, is it's a nautical metaphor, traversing the sea.
Well, that's in the next two lines.
Yes, correct.
Hold on. All right, say that again.
So I think if we look at this final two...
No, say what you just said about the islands being...
So the islands are synonymous with the hereafter paradise. This ties into the opening of the poem, when we're dealing with a bridge to the chilled albatross's white immutability.
No.
Once again, I have to really insist that love is what bears them into immortality from the here and now.
Love does bear them into the immortality, but I don't see that connected to albatross.
Albatross is often a symbol of immutability. I've seen it like the pelican, for example. Sometimes the albatross is symbol.
But in Coleridge, it's a symbol for nature.
Vary here. I think the symbolism can vary. I think what it is because the albatross is white and it's glimpsed in the sky above the sea and the changing sea.
That could be, but I would need more. I would need instances of other poets using albatross as a symbol for heaven before I.
Well, it could be something that's innovative with Crane.
But if it's innovative with Crane, then I'd have to see him using it several times.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Okay, so we're still hung up on this Four Islands.
What are you hung up over?
What was your paraphrase again?
Okay, so just to rearrange that, the blue latitudes and levels of your eyes lead inviolably to these islands.
Paradise.
Right, through her he attains paradise.
So yeah, I think the four is the four of I learn X for Y, meaning I learn how to do X so that I can do Y.
No, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I have learned the enlightenment that you've gathered
Yes.
within your breast is going to help me get to the islands, which is the paradise.
You make it sound like there are steps, though, which I can't agree with. I simply
But why not?
I don't think bright insinuations translates to knowledge.
No, we agreed on intelligent suggestions. Bright insinuations is intelligent suggestions.
I would just say perceptions that finally come together. I don't think he has these clues like he follows a map, if you will. It says, gathering all bright insinuations, like gathering flowers. These things are all disparate and separate, and they ultimately come together. I don't think it's like a quest piece, if you will. It says all islands lead in. The blue latitudes and levels of your eyes lead to the heavens. Only through her and her regard and her love does he attain heaven.
No, I don't. I don't agree. Okay, so I have the intelligent suggestions that I have learned for obtaining the paradise which leads me to your eyes. But you're saying that it's obtaining... You're saying that I've learned these suggestions and your eyes will lead me to paradise.
Yeah, your eyes are... only via her eyes, only through her can he access paradise, basically. If you look at the widening moon within your breast, think of the door opening. You know that trope?
But no, I'm worried about how you get... so the subject of the sentence will be eyes, the verb will be lead, and the object will be paradise, or islands, or paradise. So, well, hold on. I think I'm seeing a way. So if I say, if I can rearrange this to that my ears have caught blue latitudes and level of your eyes. So hold on. The prepositional phrase could be put at the end. So this is a prepositional phrase that comes at the beginning of the sentence. So for example, if I say like, for going home, you need to do this. So you need to do this in order to go home. Or in order to go home, you need to do this. So if you're saying that for islands is a prepositional phrase, like a prepositional phrase put at the front,
right,
you can do that.
I think that for island, I think that those two lines can be looked at separately. I think they speak their own statement. I really do.
Hold on, I don't understand that.
I think those two lines can be taken independently. I don't think it needs derived meaning. I think it's parallel. It doesn't derive meaning from the preceding lines. It simply says it has to be.
So you don't think that? Oh, wait a second.
I think they can be seen as two separate statements.
All the decisions that I have learned, and your blue eyes. Well, hold on.
For island, it's almost like because the blue latitudes and levels of your eyes. It's almost like saying that this right here, the preceding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines, are an example of. That's not like what you think. Yeah, I think those two lines can actually be treated separately.
I think they can be treated separately, but where must lead in. So.
Islands, it's a poetic way organized. So islands are the object.
No, hold on. Okay. Islands is the subject in the main clause, and this is a main clause. It's a sentence fragment.
Uh-huh.
So, islands is the subject. It has no verb.
Okay.
For islands, and I'm interpreting now for as meaning because islands, and there's no verb in this main clause. Where must because these islands, and by the way, these islands lead to your latitudes.
I think he switched the traditional placement of subject and object. I think islands is the object, blue latitudes and levels are the subject, and lead is the verb.
But where must lead invariably blue latitudes and is all of that a subordinate clause? Subordinated by where?
This is what leads to the islands.
No, but answer the question.
What do you mean?
So does where subordinate all of the words following it up until eyes? You see, that's a subordinate clause?
I'm not. Let's see. No. All
right. Actually, hold on. I got another idea. So where must lead inviolably? That's a subordinate clause.
Mm-hmm.
But then blue latitudes and levels of your eyes would be part of the main clause, but the main clause has no verb. I think we're just going to have to. We're just going to have to give up.
I think we've got a clear grasp of it, but I really, really think that eyes are the passageway to paradise.
But do you have evidence? I'm worried about whether or not you have evidence.
No, that's how you arrange it. I mean, this is basically a sentence where the wording has been rearranged.
And
it's reinforced by the widening noon within your breast. That is like a target through which one passes.
No, but hold on.
Okay.
You can't I don't understand what it means to reinforce a sentence. So, if where must lead inviolably, all right, that's a subordinate clause. I get that. But the main clause,
yes.
And if we interpret, well, we've also agreed that there's a false period after caught. So after caught, there should be a period.
Yes.
And then for means because islands, just ignore the subordinate clause.
Right.
Because islands, blue latitudes and levels of your eyes. So what would be the verb? What would be the logical verb in that main clause if it had one?
I'm not clear what you're saying, to be frank.
All right, then. We'll just table it.
We'll just say this.
All right.
One more thing. It doesn't make sense to me that islands, an isolated place, would lead to the latitudes and levels of your eyes. I don't understand that. I think the conclusion is islands are the destination, and the eyes are the means to that destination.
Yeah, that does make more sense. See, it would make more sense if he said, latitudes and eyes lead to paradise.
I agree with you entirely, but he's kind of switched up the language a little bit. And that's my interpretation of those particular two lines.
All right, I think we're going to go with that.
All right.
Hold on. Okay, so what we've settled on now is there should be a period after caught. For does not mean because, it just means and that the subject is eyes, so the eyes lead inviolably to paradise, and that latitudes and levels, these are just properties of our eyes. We don't know exactly what properties they are.
Or they could parallel one more heaven or sky image.
Yeah. All right, so now we're on the last two lines. In this expectant, I have as receive. Like, expecting this.
Expectant is that which is expected. The attainment of paradise is the expectant.
So, like, for example, I could say in expectance...
In expectation of heaven.
In expectation of heaven. Oh, there's the receive part.
Mm-hmm.
Still say that you will receive the secret or. That's a symbol for, or a metonymy. I think it's more of a metonymy here. It's a metonymy for transporting.
Right. Well, it's one more nautical image because we're dealing with islands, traversing the seas, that kind of thing. And
petals of all love. I interpret that as resurrection, but you interpret it as something else.
Well, we deal with a lot of marriage ceremony in this. Petals, I've seen the image like petals leading to the threshold, like carrying the bride across the threshold. Petals leading up to. Honestly, I think we could just equate it to one more device of love, of passion, of matrimony.
Yeah, I kind of think resurrection is a little bit too ambitious. Departs too much from the text.
Well, resurrection means we start in one place, we go to another place, and then we come back. It would say that paradise in her eyes, so to speak, is imperfect. We've got to come back to this place.
All right. Receive love's ability to transport. Okay, so in this expectant means in expectation of this, and who's he talking to? He's talking to his beloved.
That is correct.
Still means continue. So continue to state. There should be a comma here after exclaim. So still exclaim and receive the secret or. So that continue to state that we should receive the means for traveling and tokens of all love.
Well, the means for traveling is all. Could the secret or refer to their plan for suicide?
Yeah, I think so.
There's an anticipated place and anticipated time.
Mm-hmm.
That's the expected. So in the meantime, stick to the plan,
Mm-hmm.
Continue our courtship, and ultimately we know where it ends.
Yeah, let me. So I think what he's saying is receive this, exclaim and receive the secret or means be receptive to our plan, our secret plan, because we're going to go into the harbor and kill ourselves. So the or is a symbol for our transporting into the harbor.
You may be right, but I'm really inclined to say it's more of the or, the means by which they were. Secret or is a secret plan for suicide, which will convey them to the island, is what I'm saying.
Well, we're kind of in agreement then.
Well, you're taking the or quite literally, though, aren't you? The actual physical travel to the harbor.
No, it's not a literal or.
I don't think it is.
It's a metonymy for traveling.
Right. And when they say secret or, I think it is their secret, unexpressed plan for suicide.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. That's what it means.
Okay. All right, so I think we got it.
All right, that's good.